This new release from Selten was a bit of a surprise to me. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. And something that I do, well, daily is have a look online to see what watches are out there, what watches people are wearing, what releases there are, and just getting an idea of watches that are out there in the world. And occasionally I come across something new, something special, something that grabs my attention. And this new release from Selten definitely grabbed my attention. I've owned a watch from Selten before and I really liked it. The design, the quality, the details of it, and the different materials used. So seeing another release, a release that I wasn't aware of, really grabbed my attention. And because it grabbed my attention so much, I actually reached out to them and said, hey, do you have any prototypes or demo models that you could lend to me? And they said yes. So this is not a sponsored video. Unfortunately, I'm gonna send these ones back. This is me just sharing my experiences with these watches. Watches that grabbed my attention so much that I asked to be lent these watches. But this one, if you are interested in it, well, it's being released on Kickstarter. So you're gonna have to jump onto Kickstarter and rather quickly because the Kickstarter campaign is gonna end fairly soon. Finishing on the 15th of October, and there are some variations available if you want to buy one, but they're around about 875 Australian dollars if you want to back this campaign. Now that may vary a little bit because there's quite a few different dial variations. Now I've got two to share with you today that were lent to me. The black dial, which is the Moso Black, which is a 99.4% light absorbing material. And I've got a CNC machined white mother of pearl, which strangely enough is the one that has captured my attention the most. But there's also a CNC machined dark mother of pearl and a meteorite, and I do like the meteorite dials, and I think that suits this particular watch a lot as well. But of course, I've only got the two, so they're the ones I'm going to share with you. But something that does stand out about this watch, and something that Selten wants you to be aware of, is that moon phase. It's a proper moon phase. It is a modified Miyota movement, but it has a moon phase of 29.5 days, which means if you kept this watch actually fully wound, you shouldn't have to update that moon phase more than once every 3 years. And be sure to check out the information on Kickstarter about the material used for that moon on that moon phase. Something that Selten likes to do, and something that I like because it pushes the boundaries a little bit and also changes things up a little bit, is just use different types of materials and use it in different ways. And they've used a rather interesting material. So check out the campaign and read a little bit more about that. Now I want to show you these two watches that I've been lent in a lot of detail, and I've used a lot of different footage to try and highlight those dials. But before we go any further, I've noticed that there's a lot of people watching my videos, but they haven't subscribed. I understand why people don't subscribe. I subscribe to a lot of channels, but it's hard to be a subscriber of all. You end up with a lot of content on your feed. But subscribing is something that is really easy and it's free for you. But it makes such a huge difference to me and my channel. So if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, could I please ask that you hit that subscribe button? Thank you. And thank you to all of those who have already subscribed. But let's talk about this watch in more detail and start with the dimensions, because I think that sets the sort of theme for this watch, because the case itself is a lovely 38.9 millimeters. And something that I noticed about my last Selten is it was a little bit thick, and this one has addressed that because this one's only 11.8 millimeters. A nice compact 45.6 millimeter lug to lug, nice standard 20 millimeter lug width, and on the strap there are 68 grams, so it's nice and light and easy to wear, but on the bracelet with all the links it's a little bit heavier, being 132 grams. Now there's no lume on either of these watches or any of the options that are available, but it's all about the dials, the textures, the materials, and that moon phase. So let's look at that a little bit deeper. And let's look at the black dial first and just see how black it really is, because it disappears. It's amazing, which then highlights those hands really well. They stand out and project off that black dial very well. And you'll see under a little bit of detail that not only the shape is good, but the couple of textures that are used. They're sort of angled, they're really cool looking, and there's some brushing and polishing, and I like that the center is capped. This is becoming something that I appreciate, these little small details, and Selten is very good at the small details. Things like putting that cap on. It doesn't change the watch considerably, but it just adds to the overall feel of this watch and look of this watch. And there's more. When you look at that Moonphase, you'll see that different material used. You'll see how clean it is, how well executed it is, and how it really sort of breaks up that black dial. But it's not until we look at the CNC machined mother of pearl do you see some, wow, some, let's say, visual elements, because the pattern that has been used, when it hits the light, when it reflects, it just captures your attention. It is such a interesting design, and it radiates away from that Moonphase window in a way that just keeps me coming back to it. It's not quite as legible, this particular white mother of pearl, because it's white with silver, unlike the black and silver. However, I don't think that matters too much because you are just captivated by that dial. You'll also notice that there is no second hand on this watch, which for me normally I don't love. I like having a little bit of movement on this dial, but it seems to suit this watch. I'm not sure if I'd still want some movement on the dial because I like that, but it feels like such an elegant watch that perhaps having a running second hand on this possibly might disrupt that elegance. I'm not sure. What do you think? Leave me a comment down below. You will see one visual element that is different between these watches, and that is the chapter ring. The black dial is completely uninterrupted, whereas that mother of pearl actually has a minute track and actually has Selten written down there at the 6, whereas the black dial is just completely vacant, which then really suits, I guess. If you're going to have a black dial that looks like that, you really don't want to be interrupting it too much. Now, front and back is sapphire crystal, and very good sapphire crystal. Yeah, nice strong reading on both of those. But one of my favorite elements about this watch, and something that I wish more brands did, was that fixed bezel. It is a concave fixed bezel, which to me, it grabs the light. It reflects the light in an interesting way and just captures me. It's a little bit of a sparkle and an effect because it's polished, because it's concave. I like it. It's a visual element that I always appreciate whenever I see it on a watch. And then you'll see quite an interesting case shape. If you look closely, you'll see that the bezel overlaps slightly onto that brushed case side, and the case back overlaps slightly onto that brushed case side as well. So there is a little bit of a ridge, giving you another little detail. I'm going to say detail a lot in this video because Selten watches are all about those details. And when you look at the case back of this watch, you first are drawn to that see-through case back, seeing that Miyota movement with that custom Selten counterbalance. But for me, it's not about that. It's about the outer part of that case back, about that being also concave, which obviously mirrors that solid bezel. So they work together. Those two visual elements fit together and just create a really nice, interesting, detailed element that makes this watch well thought out. Not only is Selten about the details, it's about thinking through those details, and you can see it when you handle these watches. It has an interesting shaped crown as well, which is relatively easy to hold onto. The Miyota, being a high beat movement, has hacking and hand winding. Not that you can notice the hacking obviously because there's no second hand, but you can hand wind this one. And of course you can action that Moonphase as well and see it run through if you don't want to wait 29.5 days to watch the whole cycle go through. The bracelet on this mother of pearl version is very nice. In fact, I feel like it's a bit of a carryover from the Selten I had. Very well made, brushed on the top with some polished center links, brushed on the side. But this bracelet is not adjusted by screws, which some people will say, I love screw links, and I do too, but there's a very good reason why this one is not, and it's because this bracelet is very delicate and small. And that would mean those screws would have to be tiny, and I think that would have some issues, which is why I think they've chosen not to go with screws. And you'll see then further, this has a butterfly clasp. This has a very dressy feel to it, this watch. It's obviously a dress watch, so the butterfly clasp does fit this watch perfectly. The leather strap on the black dial version is very nice. I can just say it's a well-made, nice leather strap. Nothing too much to stand out, but certainly no complaints either. And it sits down on wrist very nicely. Those dimensions really work. And being a little bit thinner than my previous model Selten makes it feel a little bit more elegant on wrist too. So the only complaint I had about that previous Selten was that thickness. And this one, this particular model, has addressed that. and I've really enjoyed having some time with these watches, and it's going to be a little bit sad to let them go. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Perhaps you'd like to watch some more of my videos next.